Our third lecture is with Vitor Dias. Victor is our spirit since birth and is found and current president of the Seeds of Light, Edmonton Spirit Society. Since 2018, Victor has been volunteering as the director with the Canadian Spirit Council. Currently, he coordinates the CSC Communication Committee and support the CSC on the International Spirits Council Communication Committee. Peter has a profound passion for promoting the study, dissemination, and practice of the spirits in Canada. His passion resulted in a contribution of several success communication projects across the country. Victor is going to talk about My Beloved Kids, adoption. The adoption child is always the noblest training in the field of fraternity. Perhaps rare service on earth are so rewarding in terms of eternal life. T-shirt Simonetti, the microphone is open for you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Lucy, for your words. I also want to thank the Toronto Spiritist Week for organizers for inviting me to be here today, and really extend my gratitude to each of the centers involved with this beautiful project that is it's been going on for so long now, and really inspire, I think, many of the other centers around Canada to perhaps think in some sort of similar type of collaboration. I want also to thank Marcia Lee to be the person bringing the invitation and really doing that difficult job of simultaneous translation. Thank to Andre and Thiago Leite, sorry, for this beautiful moments that and reflections that both of you shared. Really touched it. Also, Kleber, thank you for the energy that you provided with your music. I really was trying to put myself beside you in that moment, really to perceive all the tones of your guitar that sometimes the communication tool that we have cannot quite come up, but it was beautiful. And thank to each one of you. To me, it is a great pleasure. I'm really delighted to be here today with you to talk about Jesus, to talk about all the doctrine that we so much love, and to talk about adoption. So I'll try to see if I can share here my screen. Can you all see?
Yes, Victor, I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So one thing that I found interesting when I was reflecting about Andre's and Thiago Leite lecture was that to me it was very interesting how those three topics will come together. Yeah, I really feel connected with the message, and I feel that both of those lectures will help a deeper understanding of what is the proposal here for today. And what we are suggesting is to really first start with a context of what this adoption means, more like trying to understand the magnitude of that situation around the globe, and then really share some reflections that Spiritism brings to us. And then with an example, perhaps we'll do this exercise of bringing the meaning of those reflections to our day-to-day life. And we'll finish with Jesus' last teaching. So when we think about adoption, the first thing that one may think about or may ask himself is that why adoption? Um, the child population makes up to approximately 2.2 billion. So that's out of the more now dated number of 7 billion world population. But just to give an idea, out of this 2.2 billion, about 143 to 210 million of those children are orphans. And the regions that are most impacted by this situation are in Africa or Asia or Middle East and Latin America. There are countries such as India, China, Nigeria that the orphans, the population, it ranges from 12 to 21 million. And some other countries like Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Zambia, the orphans accounts to 20% of their total population of children. And the question that one can come to one mind is that okay, so what is a child's right? In terms of social understanding, one would agree that it is the child's birthright to live, to get education, healthcare, shelter, protection against physical and psychological abuses. And when we look at this map, it tells a story here. It tells us that the situation that we perhaps experience in Canada, which is a great country, it's probably pretty far from the reality around the globe. So this color, the color red and the colored regions are the place where are the worst places for in terms of children rights, and they often also tell the story of what the conditions of orphans and the number of orphans. So bringing that into perspective and understanding the magnitude of the problem, we now look at Spiritism. And in the question 5, more specific, in the question 582, Allan Kardec asked the spirits, can parenthood be considered a mission? In which the spirits answer that it is, without any doubt, a mission. And at the same time, a very great duty that involves parents more than they might think concerning their responsibility for the future. God has placed children under the care of their parents so that they may guide them on the path of the good, and has facilitated their task by giving children a frail and delicate organization that renders them accessible to all sorts of impressions. However, there are those who are more concerned with training their trees in their orchards and making them produce fine fruit than with training the character of their children. If the children fail due to their neglect, they will have to bear the punishment, and the sufferings of their children will come back to them in a future life because they did not do what was incumbent on them for their children's advancement on the path of the good. Now, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this answer, the answer that the spirits provided, trying to understand some of the symbols and the virtues that the spirits are talking here. But here is where I think the light starts shining, and how those speeches that we have before from Andre and from Tiago come all together, right? So here the spirits are talking about duty, and we'll talk more about duty. And Tiago highlighted this virtue quite a bit during his presentation as well, right? So we're gonna dive a little bit deeper on that as well. But here we have also the spirits talk about punishment, they talk about sufferings, right? And again, then we go back to Andre's speech and in early on, and we see that relationship very clearly. So the reflections that were shared back then will help us fully understanding in a deeper level this answer as well. One question that one may promptly ask after reading question 582 is that what should be the parent's role to a spirit initiating its incarnation? What is the role, right? We'll reflect on this question in 3 areas. The first, observation. Second, effective application. And the third one, the moral duty. Thinking about observation from a purely corporal perspective, one may think that the information, over information for a social adjustment is the desired outcome for our children, right? However, and Andre also touched on this a little bit, is that, however, from an immortalist perspective, Tiago also touched on this, which is the real perspective as we understand within the doctrine, within Spiritism. The children are for us as a galaxy is for the astronomer. To observe them and comprehend their psychological and emotional mechanisms, their moral acquisitions, their temper, their nature, is the primary educating exercise. The child receives then moral propositions, and these reach the core of their brain information. And some information, they are definitely not fully understood by the child because their brain cannot entirely register the core of the idea. But guess what? The spirit can. And that's why the information is repeated, repeated, and repeated. It is not hearing once or twice that the child will observe the ideas being expressed. But that is the fact that they are more prompt to receive through the adult behavior. That's what brings meaning to the words. So, but the interesting thing about this area of the observation is that if this is about the adult loving observance towards the child, we can't neglect that that is also the phase of the child observing the verbal and especially the non-verbal communication of the adult, right? So the adult express its understanding, explaining the child how things are and work. The child, however, will understand it only according to, or not only, but mainly according to the adult's behavior. How about the effective application? The child then, let's recap as some of the informations that spiritists bring to us, and we all know. So the child is starting a new incarnation, or he is starting a new reincarnation, better saying, right? This is a new experience, right? But they are an immortal spirit. So if they are immortal spirit, they would bring also what? Their achievements, their challenges, and their limitations, right? And what does that mean? In the didactic teaching moments, those moments that the parent is teaching the children, in this coexistence, during the verbal explanations, during the examples, the child sees and experiences. The spirit, the immortal spirit, will start acquiring a new interpretation of life and reality. This interpretation will then start getting sharper and specific as the adult allows them to comprehend through affection the information being taught. And here is a key word and a key virtue in the process of education: affection. Right? Natural question then is, how does the comprehension through affection works? So the child goes through their challenges, their insecurities, their uncertainties during life, right? If you think about it, the challenges itself is neither good nor bad, right? These are only challenging experiences. So what happened in the intimacy of a child is that the experience can transform into something productive for them or not. Right? Affection will embrace the child, especially during its challenging times. When a child is loved and supported, to comprehend its role as a spirit that deserves to learn, that has the merit of becoming an apprentice of life, such that they connect to their power, their capability, their capacity of solving their challenges. They establish an affective relationship with their experiences. This, my friends, is the core of this process. To support the child to perceive an affective relationship with their experiences. And how does that get processed? How is it possible to offer an affective relationship with the experiences of life to a child? How can we offer this to a spirit transition through a childhood? To help understand some of these questions, we'll perhaps use a simple example. So if we imagine the following situation: a 4 to 5 year old kid, right? Perhaps was running, she tripped and fell in the ground, right? And had that immediate reaction of looking to his mom, right? So what does that mean? What does that look mean? Right? And again, this is an example that, so we're going to a broader concept to an example to try to come back and then understand the bigger, broader concept, right? So it's just an example, okay? So she looks at the mom, trying to understand what happened to her, right? This is an experience that she was not expecting at all, right? Falling is a physical manifestation, right, of an unexpected experience. And what does an unexpected experience means to the child psychology? So what's gonna be telling them is the mother's verbal and nonverbal actions that will really inform what happened, right? So if the mom, so let's imagine the situation. So the mom looked back at her, and now the mom is scared. It's angry. Start yelling at her, right? Saying that, for example, she or he does not pay attention, that the child will, so what happens is that the child will capture that experience as being danger, as being something it's not good, right? But the child is in the ground, is feeling pain, is emotionally challenged, and even after all that, the adult is using aggression or aggressive words towards her or him. This attitude, in a deeper level, it frustrates the hope for embracement. So instead, the child will feel abandoned. And if the spirit in its infants have this frustrated experience over and over again, what will happen? So the feeling of being abandoned may be amplified. And that's throughout the daily challenging experiences, right? So this simple example, it illustrates how could the feeling of being abandoned be aggravated, since the adult, the mom in this case, is, and we all, and all parents are, the archetype of the creator itself in their lives. So this, in a deeper level, will distance the spirit reincarnating further from the divine laws. In a deeper level, it may reflect the feeling of being abandoned by God. And let's just pause for a minute here and be a little bit careful, because we should not understand that that this will be the result of only one experience, right? This happens throughout life, throughout the childhood, many and many experiences, reinforcing that aggression, that bad, that perception of the experience over and over again, right? And the other thing to say here is that this also does not mean that we should blame or even consider that parents shall not make mistakes. That's definitely not the case. That's definitely not the intention. There's no perfect education with imperfect educators. We shall say, and what we shall say, however, is that if the feeling of love is amplified towards an existential caring, the parents can understand the role of that experience in an immortal spirit in evolution. Right? That's exactly what love can operate in the relationship. Understand and comprehend, feeling its role on humans' relationship. When we have existential attention with our children, we feel the attention and we occupy ourselves with them. We want to understand their joys, their sorrows, their achievements, their failures. We want to understand how they are operating and how deep inside they are comprehending or not the divine laws. We are attentive to what they go through in their intimacy. Our attention shall be caring and loving, but also assertive and proactive. This is a set of proactive actions that lead us to observe how these spirits momentarily, our children, is working in their new bodily experience in the face of course, the daily life situations, right? How they are inserting themselves on their journey towards spiritual acquisitions or not. So in in the example of the mom, how could she act perhaps differently, right? So the child again fell, looked at the mom, right? So if at that moment the mom look at them with expression of encouragement and confidence, warmly welcoming them, the child understand that unexpected experiences very differently. The child can still cry, and very likely will cry because it's feeling that pain. This is a psychological or sorry, a physiological reaction or feeling, right? But the experience will not be intensified in the same way as if the mom would have expressed the dread or fear. It is, my friends, in the experience itself that the parents will direct it towards a virtuous or a traumatic understanding by the children. Trauma and virtues are not interpretation that the children have. It is a co-interpretations that the children have from the adults in their lives. This concept can be amplified broadly. If the adult brings the insipid reality within itself, and here perhaps could be an application of the passage that Andre reminded us in the early on, right? Being the salt of earth, right? So if being insipid reality, bringing that, it will be transferred to the child. However, if the adult brings loving reality within itself, virtuous principles will be transferred to the child. And the child will understand the experience very differently. And not only the consequences, but also the experiences in itself. For instance, bringing it to morality, falling, standing up, losing, winning. What are those? They're expressions that human being will have in their life and in their relationships. What is then the parent's role to the child, if not of the one making all effort to best become the conscious mirror of the divine laws? To become a mirror, comprehending that the function of bringing the reality of life to a child is more vigorous and causes greater impressions than one could perceive. Parents bring within the capacity to allow their children to understand what is happening in their intimacy. And here we say parent or adult or the significant adult, right? So how about moral duty? The child education, as we have been reflecting together, is required loving observation, requires affection. And that's only possible if the parents' hearts are willing to progress on the basis of a moral duty to develop unconditional love. And our friend Andre earlier on also talked about unconditional love in a deeper level, in the more absolute level. And then we ask ourselves, how can we develop unconditional love? And many parents probably will say and feel that they feel unconditional love, right? Many parents will probably say that, for example, that they will give their lives for their little ones, and we have no doubt that this is real. But what can we understand here? What is the concept that we are reflecting? Beforehand, it is fundamental to understand that unconditional love, it's only possible to be expressed by the unconditional loving behavior. The unconditional loving behavior is learned, reflected, and felt. Otherwise, the expression of an unconditional love does not reach the comprehension of the child. That happens through the interior process of self-welcoming and welcoming others, acceptance, comprehension, education through moral duty. It is a fundamental tool building that relationship parents-child. And how is it possible to truly support the formation of the personality of the child, neglecting the sense of moral duty? So the moral duty is the beacon. It's like a beacon. With it, the human being comprehend what they do and where they go. But without it, human being has no existential course. Often, parents that are not offering the duty to unconditional love is because it requires work. That's the most common cause. Unfortunately, it still is. They may believe that things will accommodate itself. How often have we heard, oh, things will take care of? It's only solely with time, things will magically resolve. That's not how it happens. Things does not just happen so with time. It is not soul time that will teach the child or the youth the noble functions of their lives. Parents are invited to organize themselves in actions of intellect moral duties, fulfilling their duty in the education of the child or the youth. And then we ask ourselves, okay, so what is parents' conscious duties? Here are some for our reflection. The duty to teach them self-love, the duty to teach self-comprehension, self-acceptance, and the duty to teach love, comprehension, and acceptance of others. Now we turn to the message from Lazarus in chapter 14, item 7 of the Gospel according to the Spiritism, where the benefactor will guide us through a deeper journey, through understanding what means moral duty, what it means these duties. And he says that the duty is an individual's moral obligation, first towards him or herself, and towards others immediately thereafter. Duty is the law of life. It is found in the smallest details as well as in the most elevated acts. Sorry, let me just come back here a little bit. So duty is contrary, if you think about these two messages, is contrary to the seductions of self-interest. That's where the relationship between required work comes to, right? Its victories have no witness, as the benefactor says. Its victories has no witness. Its failures undergo no repression. People's inner duty is left to their free will. the sting of conscience, the guardian of inner rectitude, warns and upholds them, but it is held back, often powerless before the sophistries of passions. When faithfully obeyed, the duty of the heart uplifts people. But how is such duty determined? Where does it begin? Where does it end? Well, the benefactor also tells us the duty begins precisely at the point in which you threaten your neighbor's happiness or peace of mind. Let's think about this. My duty begins precisely in the point in which I threaten my neighbor's happiness or peace of mind. It ends at the limit. It ends at the limit you would not want to see surpassed regarding yourselves. This is very interesting, right? Very interesting, very deep message here. One simple way that a very good friend once expressing his understanding about the sentence, he put it, and I sort of like it and brought to me for easier reference. It's like thinking as a fence, as your backyard fence, right? So you have this backyard fence, and this backyard fence is determined by your conscious thinking. And conscious here I'm using in a very deep level of understanding, in the same level where we say that the laws, the divine laws, are present in our conscience. So, and what is very interesting here is that whenever we go through some egoic movements and let the egoic movements within ourselves just to operate or to express in our actions what we are really doing with that fence, guess what? We are forcing to change it. So we are either pushing out our fence and trying to get a responsibility for something that's really not ours, or we're doing the opposite, pushing inwards and let what is our responsibility outside as if it was not ours. But guess what? That really doesn't really change the fence. The fence is where it is, right? And the question that we do to make ourselves is that how do you know what really is your fence? Well, guess what? It's only through self-knowledge, right? So how can we know without self-knowledge, right? So the duty is the most beautiful, as the benefactor said, laurel of reason. It depends on it like a child depends on its mother. Humans, we all should love duty. It provides the soul with the strength it needs for its development. Duty grows and radiates under a more elevated form that each of the higher stages of humanity, at the very different stages of humanity. Individuals' moral obligation towards God, our moral obligation towards God, never ceases. They should reflect the virtues of the eternal. The great responsibility of the parents is to approximate then the children to God. But then again, to accomplish it, the first thing to do is to approximate ourselves to God. Your children, or our children, are immortal spirits, right? That the parents receive or choose in the process of co-creation to collaborate with God, conducting the children to God, brothers in humanity to the path of good through the formation of the character. In this mission, parents will respond to everything that happens with their children as long as it is within their responsibility, within their fence. Now, my friends, allow me to share a story that perhaps will help us bring some of those meanings further towards our day-to-day life and inspire us. This is a true story. She was just 4 years old. And when crossing a highway, she was run over by a truck. The little brother who was with her died. And she was in the hospital for days, weeks, months. Nobody came to complain. And Quota, as it was her name, ended up staying there in the hospital. They taught her some things here and there so that she could go pay herself, right? And then what happened is that over time, she began to assist in the hospital with some services. More than 60 years have passed. No family, no home. She never knew what is or it was to call someone a mother, a brother, a dad. Then an employee newly hired in the hospital met her and felt sorry for her. So the information around in the hospital was that the hospital administration was looking for a temporary home for that lady. So the idea would be then to find a suitable place that that could support her. And Glaucia, the employee, offered to take her home. So she thought, well, after all, it will be just for a little bit, right? But guess what? The little turned into months, and which end up adding up, and after all, Glaucia finally understood that the lady would not leave her home. So she took certain steps. First, get a birth certificate, and then after that, file an adoption application. But very strangely, Glaucia found that she was in her early 30s, could not possibly adopt a 70-year-old woman. Legally, what she got was something like a permit for Quota to reside with her. And then Quota she has a mentality of a child. A child, again, who lived in an institution for many decades and had some really bad habits, requiring Glaucia's intensified effort to re-educate her. What is surprising about this lady is that she started to use the magic word mother with all the joy. In the face of any difficulty, like any child, she calls her mother, Glaucia. Mother who surrounded her with affection and protection, who offered a home, who taught her that love exists above and beyond blood ties. An angel who has come into her life. And we ask ourselves, what reasons will God have for having united these creatures? Only He knows. What we realize is that there is love in that relationship. an extraordinary woman who gives everything that love can offer and say with all the letters and with all her gesture that the matterhood of the heart is much more vigorous than that of the body. God bless all the hearts that open to welcome the children of the flesh of others, of the different races, of different ages. And if we reflect about it, we can all consider ourselves adopted children of each other. That's because true parenthood proceeds from God, the divine parent, who created us for the eternal glory. Now, let's turn to that moment where Jesus was at the cross. And at his feet was Mary. Looking at his son. And she asked herself, why? She feels a gentle touch on her shoulder. There is John the Apostle. And felt deeply inside, looking at her son and asking, why? Why did they do that to you? To my son? Jesus turned to her and said, Mother, there is your son. And directing himself in a special way with a slightly nod to the apostle, he said, Son, there is your mother. The apostle in that moment understood that in the future, the clarity of the kingdom of God would reveal to men the necessity of the cessation of all selfishness, and that in the sanctuary of every heart, there should be the most abundant quota of love, all to all the needy in this world. And that is what we pray for this planet. Mothers will be mothers of all. Dads will be dads of all. Parental love will be adopting one another because humankind will adopt the universal love as Jesus taught us. Following the footsteps of so many that understood the last teaching, like Mary, that adopted all of us as her child. May God bless our parents.
Thank you, Vitor. Now we have the questions. We have two questions for you today. Thank you very much for your beautiful message. The first question goes, Pamela is going to ask. Please, Pamela.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. My question is, does being an orphan is a part of the reincarnation plan? And if yes, what are the values that it's gonna, add to that particular spirit?
Thank you for the question. The spirits will tell us, and Thiago touched on this a little bit as well, about the reincarnation plan. And what they tell us is that this plan is a very carefully made plan that involves a team of well-known.
You could take that
Sorry.
card and shall I?
Sorry, is there maybe someone? Okay, thanks. So, and what? Okay, so it involves a team of spirits that with a profound knowledge in the areas of psychology, family psychology, of your story, and you have this meeting. Of course, this is in general situations, right? We are generalizing here concepts. And in this meeting, it happens sometimes, often, with the person that is reincarnating, and there is established the reincarnatory plan, right? Now, could a adoption, could a orphan situation be part of a reincarnatory plan? Yes, it could. It could very well be. Now, the second question is even more interesting. So why? So if it is, why? Is that for suffering? Is that for the spirit to suffer? Well, if we think it is for suffering, if you think it is for bad, then we have to assume that God is bad, which is against the attribute, the divine attribute of God is sovereignly good and just, right? So it cannot be for a bad reason. So that's come back to, okay, so what's the reason then, right? And this deep question would often only be able to be fully answered by the spirit. Why? Because when we look at reincarnations and the reincarnatory plan, we can perhaps look at a cross, just like Jesus invited us to, each one of us, grab your cross and follow me. So in that symbol, what can we understand about the cross and what that relationship could have with our reincarnation and reincarnatory plan? We can think that the vertical of that cross is our existential purpose. Our existential purpose in this incarnation. The horizontal, we can think that is the collective circumstances of life, of that plan, right? And how we can, okay, so what is exactly is our purpose in life? Because purpose in life, it's often also understood as a very broad and difficult to reach concept. It's not. It's a very specific concept. It is one or two virtues that the spirit is invited to develop in that incarnation. That's what the existential purpose is in our incarnation. Now, virtues, we got to remember, they do not work alone. They also do not never work against each other, right? So when we're talking about developing one virtue, we are not neglecting the fact that by doing so, we are bringing others with it, okay? But there is one clear virtue. And what is the invitation for us is to develop that virtue in each circumstance, in each horizontal area of our life. We are being invited to develop that virtue. Now, why I'm doing that long answer for that very deep question? Because what is the relationship of that experience to that soul? It could be very complex answer. It could be related, because very often will be what? Related to the existential purpose of that soul, right? Which can be more related, for example, to the value of bringing the family ties to a sanctuary role that it has. It could be related to other factors as well that a fast study would probably not let us understand. Too long answer for it, but it's a very interesting and deep question to think about.
Thank you for your answer. Now we have a question from Ivan. Ivan, are you ready?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Okay, Vitor, thanks very much for your presentation. We understood very well the responsibility and the mission of the role of adopted parents. But what to say about the biological mother that without no money, without any money to survive, and for the love of her children, abandon and send them for adoption. Is this mom failing about her maternal mission, not trusting the divine providence?
Another very difficult question. Thanks. Let's reflect together in this one. It is always challenging for anyone, especially for us spiritists, that in the majority of the cases, we are souls that in previous experience failed miserably, and often using the name of Jesus to blame and push our selfish interest. To look at situations like this and navigate in this line that differentiate between blaming and responsibility of others, right? And that's not the intention here. Absolutely not. We have a profound respect to anyone free will, and we could never know what goes through someone in that situation, because I never experienced it. So it's not the intention to blame. But you are correct when you say that that there is a responsibility, right? There might be a responsibility. There might be a responsibility that the providence, the divine providence, brought to the soul for the children to be in that family. I think I'll leave it there, my friend. So
Thank you. So we have one more question from Rosangela. Rosangela, are you ready to ask?
Yeah.
Sorry, Rosangela, I was going to ask you to unmute with you.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Victor, thank you so much for touching on such a delicate topic. I think that I just make a comment, because just based on your last answer to Eva, it just gave me the answer. So for me, it's like there is such a great difficulty for some to accept a child that is not blood related. And we understand that the education that will be provided to this human being will be the same as an adopter or not. So the education has to be the same, or should be the same. And many times this union is actually just another meeting between those human beings, parents and the child, and probably the whole entire family. So this is a God plan. And so my question before was just why there is such a difficulty for some couples or for some people just think about, well, this is not my blood. And I just can't accept have a child that is not my blood. I don't know if you would have something to comment on that.
yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, Rosanna, you didn't. You're not showing here for me, but yeah, thank you for the question. Oh, there you go. Much better when you see. Yes, you were correct, and then we go back to the unconditional love, the concept of unconditional love. When we allow ourselves to go or to navigate in this area of differentiating one another. In this case that you brought, one kid that was a biological kid and an adopted kid. In a deeper level, what we are doing is really it's putting condition to the love that I feel, right, towards the other. And that's interesting because and if you think about it, and let us all reflect about it. Unconditional love, and of course, as Thiago also mentioned before, and we saw in the presentation, and when we reflect about the duty, it starts with the self-love, right? So unconditional love in the purest form would not differentiate it even between the love that I feel, for example, for you. Think about it. Let's think about it. Let's really try to imagine a moment where we all could feel unconditional love towards one another. Like the love, the most abundant love that you can think of, like the love, I don't know, for your mother, your dad, whatever. Take a person that you love, that you most think and say, okay, what is the most precious feeling that I have towards someone? Think about that person. Now think about feeling the same love on here. You see, it's relative to your capability of feeling that love. And we're not talking here more about a love, for example, that Christ feels for us. And think about feeling the same love for everybody. Everybody. That's in the level that we have of understanding of unconditional love. It's unconditional love to others, to brothers and sisters. So how can we truly differentiate our feeling from an adopted to a biological, if not through imposing conditions on the bodily relationship that ties to that experience, right? It's a deeper relationship, right, between souls when we see ourselves out as immortal spirits, right? And one thing that I would like to, since we are here, and you mentioned, I think that about guilty, I would like to share a perspective, and I think I don't think it's different in itself from the perspective that Andre brought to us, but it has perhaps a slightly different form to it. When I understand, when I look at us at a guilty, at the feeling of guilty, we see it as and this is coming from a transcendent psychology. So even the research is touching on this, some of this. So there are whole areas, for example, like psychology of virtues, that will help us having this understanding. That's where it's coming from. So it's more for a reference. When we look at those, at that concept, what we'll see is that this is an egoic movement. Remember when we saw that virtues, they go together, hand on hand, and they're not isolated, and they never contradict to each other. And virtues, we use it to illuminate egoic movements that we still bring. So egoic movements, the way it's understood, it is the non-presence of the virtue within ourselves. Okay, so that's different than ego. Ego is a tool that will help guide, but let's just put this to the side for now. So guilty is considered an egoic movement and has three bases or three other egoic movements that forms it. It's a self-judgment, self-condemnation, and self-punishment. So the way it is understood is that, for example, a case of a suicidal often relates to the feeling of guilty. So for example, it could be that the person is feeling, okay, this, what I've done, it's terrible. I am a bad person. That's the self-judgment. You are judging yourself. Then you condemn yourself. I do not deserve to live. Then you self-punish. I will die. I will kill myself. So this is an example of guilty, but guilt can happen in many different levels, right? So this, in the way it's understood, it does not help enlighten the soul. But the process of enlightening the soul it also has 3 steps, and it's very seen in Paul of Tarsus. In the moment that he sees Jesus in the path of Damascus, he doesn't spend a second in guilty. Judas did, and then he committed suicide. Now, not Paul of Tarsus. What he does is different. He goes through a feeling the responsibility for the mistakes done, expiating. What is expiating is the process of extracting the purity, extracting piation, purity from the Latin. So, and what does that mean in a spiritist understanding is developing the virtue that led to that mistake, and then it ends in the last stage, which is oh man, it's escaping the correct word, but it's
That is
building.
reparation.
Sorry?
Reparation. So
Reparation. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, reparation. So yeah, so you see, it's two very different movements. So the more we spend time in the guilty, we are still not developing the virtue that goes through sincere regret. It goes to that phase, but it's a regret. It's not guilty. So it's not heavy on us, right? But you do see the responsibility of that act, right? Does it make sense?
absolutely. Well, people from the 6 SD knows what he's talking about, right, guys? We just talk about this 4 steps. Sorry, arrependimento. In English, just called expiation and redemption.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that the questions are over now. So yeah, thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Lucio.
Thank you very much, Victor, for this amazing hour of great teaching. Wow, it was so much teaching to think about it, internalize, and put into practice. Now that we have learned some great steps to take, we can no longer say that we don't know how to build a good and strong and timeless relationship. It's all about us now. It's our responsibility from now on. But wait, do not forget that tomorrow we will have more amazing information. Just a reminder, here is our agenda for the next few days. We want to thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for this amazing participation. Thank you very much for our fantastic speakers that we inspired with profound message. Thank you for amazing volunteers for the dedicated time spending and great creativity to make this 2021 TSW to happen. Thank you, God, Jesus, our spiritual mentors, and the enlightened spirits that embrace us with courage and certitude. The event was possible to happen. The positive message about building a strong, healthy relationship with everyone that is part in our lives is a must which help us with our spiritual evolution. We thank you, God, for this amazing day and fantastic time with friends and now our new friends. And we are expanding our spiritual family. Now, we are going to say, see you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening and have one amazing night of sleep. Before our end, I will call Ivan Guerra for the final prayer. The microphone is open for you, Ivan. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow.
There we go. Thank you, Lucio, for the opportunity. I'm going to invite everybody right now to close your eyes and keeping yourselves connected with God. Let's pray together. Dear Father, thank you to give us this opportunity to be here today and for all the benevolent spirits that were here with us. Thanks for all inspirations and for all the learnings we have just received from our speakers and their seminars. We hope we could observe all the content discussed here today, and also we can put them in a practice in our daily lives. For each mind and heart that feels the presence of this meeting, we thank you. Only you truly know what we are setting out to accomplish today. We have an idea, a vision hints, and daily instructions. We have talents, abilities, and time to work. However, only you see in perfect details the end of every beginning. Every project, every season, every life, nothing is ever in vain. For even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Dear Father, we pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our journey and show us how can we build a good relationship. So be it.
So great.
And now music, just to say goodbye. But tomorrow we can see everyone again. We can open the microphones if everyone wants to say something. Please feel free to do so. How was the event for you guys? For the ones that are still here with us, you can open the microphone. I believe you can do.
Now we can.
Now, yes. Thank you guys for everyone that make this event happening. I'm very pleased to participate and I'm very happy. Thank you very much for everyone.
Colega, estamos felizes que vocês estejam aqui conosco. Esperamos que as mensagens desse dia venha trazer, né, novas perspectivas, novos corações mais abertos, né, mentes mais harmoniosas para a nossa própria saúde mental, emocional e tudo mais, né? E aí, com certeza que amanhã estaremos aqui esperando vocês às 9 da manhã, né? Então, tentar dormir mais cedo, não sei, estou energizada. Muito obrigada aos nossos intérpretes, a Eline. Nós tivemos também, deixa eu ver os nomes aqui, gente, tanta gente envolvida, não tem ideia. Tivemos a Manuela e a Eline hoje conosco. Muito, muito, muito obrigada. Amanhã estaremos aqui com tópicos fantásticos, né, com o TSW Kids, falando sobre a mediunidade infantil, muito importante para o aprendizado de todos nós, não só aqueles que não têm filhos, né? Podemos ser tios, tias, amigos, amigas, né, de famílias que tenham e que precisam de ajuda. Teremos o Wagner Moura e teremos depois, então, o Rossandro.
Muito obrigado a
Muito
todos.
bom.
E uma boa noite.
Obrigado.
Gente, obrigado. Muito bom.
Parabéns,
Maravilhoso.
galera.
Thank you so
Parabéns
much.
para toda a
Obrigado.
equipe.
Boa noite.
See you
Foi
tomorrow.
gratificante. Até amanhã, gente.
Bye, bye, galera. Tchau,
Obrigada.
tchau.
Amanhã tem mais.
Com certeza.
Tchau, tchau.
Tchau, tchau.
Tchau.